Welcome back to Redzone In the Lab podcast. Today, we got a special guest. AJ Perez is going to be joining us shortly, and we're going to talk about the Robert F. Kennedy Stadium bill yesterday that was up for vote yesterday. The House was in session yesterday, and they put it up for a vote, which it passed. And AJ is going to come in. He's going to talk to us about what that means. How do we get here? What are the next steps, et cetera, et cetera. I'm also going to talk a little bit about the team grades that came out yesterday. I'm going to talk about the 75 million that has been added to the resources of renovating FedEx Field, which is not FedEx Field anymore. It's currently Commanders Field. I believe that's what Jason Wright mentioned yesterday. It may take some while to get that. And then we're going to talk about Josh Harris. There's been some stuff on Twitter today about Josh Harris being in the room on the quarterback interviews. We're going to get into all of that right after this.
Shout out Redzone In the Lab podcast.
Hey, what up, y'all? It's Benjamin St. Jude, DB for the Washington Commanders. I want to give a big shout out to Redzone In the Lab podcast.
Welcome back. This is Redzone In the Lab podcast. I am Deuce. And like we said today, joining us, front office sports reporter. He is in the building. AJ Perez, how are you doing this morning? Well, afternoon.
Doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, thanks so much for joining us. I mean, last year we had a lot of talks about ownership and selling and getting that guy out of here and all these different types of things. And then this year, and you stay busy, AJ. Like I was thinking, man, AJ gonna get a little break after this Dan Snyder stuff over, and then you was right back into it, right?
Yeah, then there's a project I can't talk about yet that I've been working on very heavily the last 2 or 3 months, but we'll be able to announce that hopefully in the next few weeks. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, can't wait. All right, so the Robert F. Kennedy Stadium bill passed in the House yesterday. Before we get into that specifically, how and why is that important to the Washington Commanders?
Pretty much the preferred and maybe one of the only pieces of land in DC where a stadium could work is going to be the RFK site. But it's controlled. There's a lease that expires in a couple of years that handled the old RFK Stadium, and after the team now known as the Commanders left for Landover, obviously the Nats played there, and also DC United MLS team played there after. But it's been vacant. It's being torn down very slowly now. But that's federally controlled land. They needed a new lease. That was passed by the House last night is a 99-year lease for about 174 acres of that land. This allows, if the Senate takes it up and if President Biden signs it, it will give DC control of that land to do not anything they want to do with it, but it could be a stadium, it could be parks, it could be mixed residential commercial use, or a mixture of all of them. So that's where we're at.
So yesterday, when you just kind of hear you talking about on the radio and in the news, they talked about that is for a 99-year lease, and I was kind of wondering, is that for whoever goes there? Like, let's say if they do put a stadium there, would the Commanders get a 99-year lease, or is that lease just specific for DC?
Just for DC, and though they could enter into a lease agreement with a pro sports franchise, for example, or some commercial real estate developer for that land, as long as it conforms to the rules of the bill, which is 30% of the land has to stay open for parks or open recreation areas. The city will be able to kind of bargain like every other jurisdiction can for to get some developer in there. It could be the Commanders.
Who spearheaded this? Was it more Muriel Bowser? Was it more Councilman Norton? Who spearheaded this bill?
Yeah, Delegate Norton, she was the one basically behind it, and it was her along with James Comer, who is the head of the Oversight Committee. Now, James Comer, a Republican who's going through some impeachment stuff with the President Biden. It's kind of an unlikely kind of duo there. Both have been longtime members of the Oversight Committee where this bill came out of. In September, I covered the hearing on the Hill where this was debated. It was debated more that day than it was yesterday. This was since the bill was passed under House rules, where there was limited debate, and it looked like it was presented in a way under suspension that it was pretty much a guarantee to meet that threshold to pass.
What was the holdup? What took so long for it to come up to be voted on?
This was very fast, actually. This is only the 41st bill that's been passed by this Congress. 41. Wow. 41 bills. To this point, it's the fewest bills passed by any congressional session or any House session ever. I mean, this is 118th Congress has not done a lot as far as moving bills along or to become law. And now this one faces a little bit of a challenge because Delegate Norton does have sway in the House. She doesn't really have much power in the Senate, and there's no advocate for DC now. DC's not a state. They don't have two senators. Now, who's going to take this bill up? And I was told that Representative Norton is working, her staff as well, on getting allies, to take up this bill, because there's no Senate bill. So it's going to be basically they're going to take the House bill and work on that. Now, if there's major changes, I'll have to go back to the House again. But if it's passed in pretty much the same form as it was last night, then it goes to President Biden. Now, the whole process, we don't know the time, the timetable, but the fact that this is something that Eleanor Holmes Norton has tried many times. It's not the first. This is the first time after many attempts to get this. And I think it'd be pretty bad for the Senate not to even at least debate it and take it up, because they don't have a lot of work to do in the Senate side because the House hasn't done much.
Yeah, I mean, but why now? Why now is this bill all of a sudden moving and is moving? Is it because of the old owner? Is it because I heard one time it was a Republican that's not even nowhere near from here that was preventing it? Why is it even taking this long to get where it is now?
I think part of it is Dan Snyder's gone. I mean, Dan Snyder was trying to get close to Mayor Bowser for years. I mean, he wanted DC. He wanted that RFK option. Now, did he want that RFK option so Virginia and Maryland could come to the table and outbid DC? When you're a business owner and or even if you're selling a car or a house or something, you want more bidders. You want people to come into it. DC was kind of limited. It was, they could have built it somewhere else in DC. They offered another piece of land. But it's this RFK site means something to the fans. It means something to this is where Josh Harris and a lot of the other co-owners of the team went to watch the Redskins back in the day. It means something to them. So this and also with the Virginia and Maryland, I've been talking to politicians the last couple of weeks. It's been quiet. I mean, we figured that this is going to take a long time.
Yeah.
The people I've been talking to, Maryland and DC, here in Virginia and in Maryland, the politicians are like it's been so quiet that they almost assume that DC is kind of the front runner at this point. This is the ownership's being patient and they're letting the process play out. And now we got, now we're talking about a new sponsor for FedEx to replace now it's Commander's Field. So now the job is, the job on the business side for the Commanders is, working to get a new sponsor, which I expect will be the next title sponsor for the new stadium. So it's the way this has worked in the past. A company will come in. Yes, we'll do the naming rights for the current stadium, even though it's not the best. But it's with a long term, and we're talking 25, 30-year deal. For that will include a new stadium as well.
Okay, yes, that's very interesting. The votes was overwhelmingly passes with yays. I guess they do yay and nays, which I think is
Yeah.
funny. But were there any prizes on on either side of the yay or nays?
The Maryland contingent, with everybody except for Representative Raskin voting no, it said Representative Raskin, he didn't vote at all. So there was no support from Maryland, zero,
Yeah,
for this bill. And we saw that, we kind of see, there, of one of the debates, one of the representatives from Maryland went up there and, so this is like, giving the DC an
yeah,
unfair
that's gonna
advantage,
ask you about
which,
that. Yeah,
but it's like, DC's at disadvantage for many reasons.
yeah,
They don't have a senator. They don't have complete control, like home rule. There's a city council, but the Congress has been meddling with laws and laws passed by the council and everything else the last few years. It's become political. DC's become so political as far as what the city can do on its own, because it's not
yeah,
it's autonomous in a way, but not totally. So this just gives and we're 2 steps away. The Senate has to pass it, and then President Biden has to sign it. So there's no guarantee that's going to happen. I think there's a good chance of it, but this just gives DC an ability to be there and to be in the discussions with Maryland and Virginia.
yeah. Um, Delegate Norton, where's she with the Commanders coming back?
Oh yeah, she's all for it.
She's all for
I
it.
think there's been a lot of lobbying behind the scenes. I'm going to say all for it because she does have a little. She has to tiptoe around the fact that there's a lot of resistance in DC by some community groups and even some city council people about bringing the team back, putting it back where it was. The traffic concerns, noise concerns, crime concerns. There's going to be pushback. This is not even if it does get signed by President Biden. It's not a slam dunk that DC is gonna then
Win.
that's even
Yeah.
not even getting to the not even getting to the public funding if DC is even willing to put up some public funding for the stadium, which will cost about $3 billion probably. So they've offered $500 million to upgrade Capital One Arena, and obviously Leonsis is still going on with the project in Alexandria. So could that money, if the Wizards and Capitals do move, could that be part of the discussions? Maybe will there be new funding? Football's football; it's king. So, and having it, then there's a lot of people in the DC government and even in Congress that want to see a team back in DC.
So we go from the House to the Senate to the president's desk. Any way that can happen before October?
Before October, that I would say before December, maybe October could. We'll see. I could see it. I have to look at the Senate schedule. But yeah, there's always a chance it could happen sooner than later. But we're probably looking at sometime at the end of the year. We'll know whether this Senate will actually move on it. And even probably the next few weeks, we'll see where it goes as far as which committee is going to be taking it up and debating it. And once it gets out of committee, that's when we'll know this is a real possibility. And I don't expect Biden not to not sign a bill that's passed by a very bipartisan margin. And we don't know if it'll be bipartisan in the Senate. The Senate has rules, the filibuster rule. There needed to be 60 senators willing to vote yes on this, or the filibuster will kill this. But if the support was the same as the House, if you look at the Democrat versus split and the vote split in the House, it was well above 60%.
Yeah.
So I think there's a good shot. Now it just what senator's going to champion this, and it probably won't be anybody from Maryland, and maybe not. Virginia didn't have as much pushback. There were 3 Virginia representatives who voted against it, but most voted for it, minus Jennifer Wexton, who didn't vote. So I'm not saying Virginia's going to lead the charge on this, but there's going to be probably somebody outside this region, a senator outside this region, that's going to have to take this up.
It's been as though we didn't get much pushback from Virginia. Is that kind of like a small concede, or is this just like normal practices?
I think the fact that the team wasn't based in Virginia, although the headquarters is here in Ashburn, that I think it's like they're worried about losing the team. I mean, and that's understandable. But I think this there's still a long way to go, even if this bill gets signed. So I think even though it's been quiet, this ownership group, outside of visiting other stadiums, visiting the newer stadiums over the last many months, there's really been no discussions. All the debate right now in Richmond here in Virginia is kind of centered around whether the monumental proposal for the Wizards of Capitals Arena in Potomac Yards is going to go forward. So there's been not a lot of discussion about the Commanders. They did pass that bill. There is that $300,000 bill they passed last year in the Virginia State House that kind of studies a stadium authority for a potential Commander stadium, but that's been about it. Maryland wants to keep it. Virginia's could be in the mix. They're kind of being the attention now is on the monumental proposal for Potomac Yards. So yeah, it's this is if DC has DC can get into the game if this bill moves forward, and then it becomes a viable option for the first time in years.
Just to kind of get to the sponsorship, it came out yesterday that the sponsorship used their option to remove the naming rights. It came out that the Commanders were surprised. But when you heard Jason yesterday, it sounded like they wasn't surprised. I'll be very surprised if they were surprised that this was going to happen. But what's your opinion on why Fred and FedEx decided to do that?
Yeah, well, kind of it was. They were alerted late last year. The team was alerted late last year that the FedEx was intended to avoid the final 2 years deal. They were able to do that because of the change of ownership. That was part of the contract. That goes back 2 decades. So I didn't get the sense that FedEx was going to be the sponsor of the new stadium. So this is not too shocking. While it was a great deal back when it was signed 2 decades ago, it's not as lucrative as many of the others out there. And when you start talking about a new stadium, that really ups the stakes. I mean, sponsoring FedEx Field as it is now is probably not the most glamorous thing. But if it comes with sponsoring a new stadium, will there be maybe an escalator once the stadium is open? That will boost the naming rights fees as part of that, probably, like I said, 25, 30-year contract that we'll likely get. That's going to be huge. And there's a lot of big companies, based around here. So while it doesn't have to be someone, it could be a national brand like FedEx. It could also be a local one, a major local one too. There's a lot of companies here that would probably like to be associated with the Commanders now, which was maybe a year ago would have been problematic because since Dan still owned the team. There's a lot. The things are trending upward. We saw the NFLPA rankings yesterday. I know it doesn't look like it's trending upwards, but those are. Harris only has 1 full season under his belt, and he didn't get to make many changes. We're going to see $75+ million of upgrades to Commanders Field, as it's called now. So it's going to be a more attractive option when you get the new stadium in the mix, especially if once we see renderings and everything else. I think that'll once they pick a site, and we're still many months off. I'm pretty sure. Then they're not going to have a problem getting a new title sponsor for a stadium.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Everyone is already like just having fun with naming the stadium. I mean, we can go AJ Perez Stadium. I
don't have that. I don't have that.
Yeah,
much money now.
Well, that's going to be.
I don't know if but it could be. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different options there. You have to look at we have so many billionaires involved in this ownership group. They know.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
This was while it was I think there was maybe a little shock last year when FedEx told the team, but it was not they just rolled with it. This is not it's not a problem. I mean, it's having a sponsor for a stadium doesn't affect fans very much, except maybe we'll still call it FedEx, just like how we call Staples, Crypto Arena Staples, and we call everything by its former name anyway. So they'll still get a little bang for the buck out of it over at FedEx for the next couple of years until or at least until the next few months, and if they find a new sponsor before the season. That's kind of like the bigger thing is like will we have a new sponsor in place by the start of the regular season?
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. I want you to know I am following you with the whole Brett Favre and Tanef and all that stuff. So that's very, very interesting, AJ.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm gonna be headed back to the South in the next couple of weeks to do more. So.
Yep. Anything else you're working on? You want to just put out there?
No, just frontofficesports.com. Subscribe to our newsletters; they're free. It's two during the weekday, one each on the weekend, and then follow me on Twitter. Oh, sorry, X/Threads at BYAJ Perez.
Yep. And also in the description, everything AJ Perez is down in the description of this podcast where you can follow him and check out his link tree also. Thank you so much again for joining the show, AJ. We definitely appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right. See you later, buddy. That was AJ Perez of Front Office Sports, just giving us, just kind of, helping us understand this process of what's going on now with the stadium, the land over at RFK, the passing of the bill yesterday in the House and going to the Senate and the different, it's so many small intricacies of what's going on with this bill, and it is one step closer. We're not at the finish line yet. There's one step closer. There are a lot of votes that still need to happen. There's a lot of politicking that still needs to happen. But we're one step closer. We're one step closer. But I just want to show you all. We have some new things that's about to start up under Redzone DC Media, and one of it is boxing. We're adding boxing under the brand. I'm just going to show you all this promo, and on the other side of this promo, we're going to talk a little bit about some other things that's coming up, and we're going to talk about the NFLPA grades that came out yesterday, and we're going to talk about Josh Harris and him being in on the meetings on the combine. So check out this promo, y'all.
Hey, what up, you guys? It's your boy, DW. Super fired up about some brand new boxing content coming your way. Redzone Roadwork Boxing, hosted by a fan favorite, Miss Lady E. A bunch of us sharp, opinionated folks are going to get on here, and we're going to hash it out with our pound-for-pound list and favorite knockouts, fights we're looking forward to. Shows will be before the big event, during, live, and post-wrap-up to see who was right, who was wrong, and who just had a good time, right? Can't wait.
Yes, we can't wait for that. That is debuting next Thursday. It's debuting next Thursday, man. We are so excited for that. Also debuting tomorrow is Redzone Cinema. Is where we're going to be. It's like a little book club, movie club. We're going to be reviewing books. We're going to be, I guess you call it reviewing movies, different things like that we're going to be running throughout the year. And first up is, yes, Kobe Bryant, the Mamba mentality. We're going to go over the first few chapters tomorrow night. It's going to be airing tomorrow night around 10:30. I can't wait for that. CeeLo Earn, No More. We're going to have guests. So if you haven't read this book yet, read it. Very educational, and it says a lot about Kobe Bryant. That's tomorrow. We also have airing Saturday is our Commanders draft coverage, which is also going to be super exciting. Y'all know Ken, he's part of the team. Ken Johansson, Adam Aniba is going to be there. Also, Podfather, y'all know him. Cal, we're going to be covering, just looking at different prospects that's going to fit our team for the offseason all the way up to the draft. So we're definitely excited about these new shows and a couple other ones that we're just not ready to promote yet, but we're definitely excited. Yes, dog tie. Let's get into what we're not going to do the interviews yet. Let's look at the grades. Each year, the NFLPA, they put out this survey to all of the NFL players that they grade. They grade the team in its whole, all the way from the owner all the way down to the food court, all the grades. I'm not even going to put our grades up. Everyone looked at our grades. The only good grade I think we got was training. right? That's probably only one of the other good grades. Look, Commander fans, you have to realize Josh Hurst didn't get here to July officially, right? July 20th. Don't just forget these grades. Like, don't even acknowledge these grades, right? If someone say, look at y'all grades, just tell them, hey, look, Josh Hurst has put $75 million towards those grades to make those grades better. That's what he's done. He's invested 75 million into the renovations of this team up and and I think that was up until a couple days ago when they made the announcements. So many different upgrades, renovations. I can't wait for the stadium, new sound, new bathrooms, all different types of things. And a lot of these things were changed because the players vote every October for these things. So I know the food court changed. I know the food changed. I heard a lot of that behind the scenes. And you got to think about it, man. Like, and I know some of you that know ADOT in the Spaces kind of mentioned when you have disgruntled employees, they're going to do disgruntled things, right? If you have happy employees, they're going to do happy things. They're going to lean one way or another. And I think that's the kind of things. I mean, we were losing, we were down bad. Ain't nobody got time to fill out no survey. You know, if you win it, you might lean. Yeah, I mean, you know, the chicken be a little wet, but it's all right. It's all right. You might give it like a B. But if y'all lose, like, man, this chicken trash, you're going to give it a D. You're going to give it a D. So you got to take all those things into consideration. But some of y'all teams that got the same owners, going to have the same owners, y'all ain't got no excuse. Y'all need to do better. Do better. But yeah, that's all I really got to say about that. I don't really, you know, those grades, man. I ain't. It is what it is. I don't know, Jonathan. Can you hear now? I know you saying you couldn't hear the show. Hopefully you're able to hear. But shout out to everyone that came through. Big Simple, we lit is in the building. Janet, Chase, Radar is in the building. Kayla, we got Dog Tie, CeeLo, Goo, Stop Through, some others. So, hold on, we got a comment. Yep, Miss Janet, ignore the grades. What up, CeeLo? DCB. This might be your first time commenting, bro. I definitely appreciate you commenting. Who gives a crap? The Kansas City had a 31st birthday. Raise your hand if you would like. Hey, look, man. Hey, I think one of the reasons we were talking to Ross, the Kansas City fan, and the players, like, they supposed to have new lockers or something when they came back from, like, at the end of the year or towards the beginning of the year. So when they came back after the Super Bowl, they was like, where are our new lockers at? And the people, whoever's responsible for it, or I don't know if it was executives or whatever, like, we was too busy rooting for y'all in the Super Bowl. So I'm with that. Like, like, I don't mind coming back to broken lockers after winning Super Bowls. So yeah, to your point, bro, don't nobody care about that for real, man. Yeah, man. DT, new owner, new name, new everything. But let's get into this Josh Harris thing real quick. A lot of people are. I'm not gonna say a lot of people. There are fans that's kind of, you know, what they call PTSD. What is it? Post traumatic, like Dan Snyder syndrome, whatever they call it. And that's exactly what it is. Is reports that Josh Harris has been on 6 of the quarterback meetings. Before we talk about Josh and in general, right? When you're dealing with the quarterback position, this is arguably the most important position in all of sports. And when it comes to football, it's the most expensive position, right? And then when you're looking at a top 1, 2, 3 pick, if you miss, it can set your franchise back some years. As Commander fans, we definitely know that. And there's some fans that have taken quarterbacks multiple years in the top 5 that haven't panned out understand this. The owner should be in on every conversation when it comes to the quarterback. Regardless, any owner anywhere should be in on that conversation. The difference from the past owner and this owner is that he's in the room to not only learn, because remember, he mentioned back in August, look, I don't know anything about football. I have to learn. I have to be there. And the best way to learn is to be there, is to be a participant, is to actually use your hands to learn. And yes, Miss Janet, the Dan Snyder syndrome. What's up, Steven? Josh understands how important this pick is, and I'm glad he cares for sure. Officially, I don't see Hurts being in the meetings as a negative. He's learning the NFL. And he told us he don't know anything about the NFL. I don't know anything about the NFL. I need to learn. I want to learn. And he's been there every step of the way through all of the interviews for the GM, through the interviews for all of the coaches. He's been there. Some of the other owners, they have been there in the second meetings. They've been a part of it. He's learning. How can you effectively supervise someone if you don't know their job? If you don't know their job, their responsibilities, you don't know what they do, how can you effectively supervise? How can I tell you you're not doing this right if I don't know what right looks like? Right? Like we have to understand this. Like this is a different, our situation is different when it comes to our owner. But the difference is that he's just sitting back watching and learning. It came out the day that he wasn't asking questions. He was just observing. Adam Peters is going to have the final say. But when it comes to the quarterback position, you know, Josh should have 100 questions. Ask all of the questions. Adam, are you sure? Is this going to be the guy? Am I going to have to spend $300 million in 4 years for this guy? Is this the one you want? Is this the one you want us to lead us into this new era? What are his flaws? What are his weaknesses? Can he improve on those weaknesses? Can these coaches make these weaknesses stronger? What are his strengths? Can we elevate those strengths? All of these things should be questions about the quarterback position that he's asking, that he should be asking. DT says that man is invested in a historic franchise that hasn't had a franchise core since Sling and Salmon. Yeah, man, like he just spent $6.05 billion on this team, and y'all just want him to sit back and write checks. He need to be in there. He had a Peters for a reason. He wants to hear what the staff hears so they can all be on the same page. He's a first-time NFL owner. He's learning the process, and he's doing it. He's doing it the right way. And look, the difference is between the past owner and this owner is the past owner receives the information from the people he paid, right? The people that he signed, he hired to do this job. They're telling him this is not the guy. You hired me to do a job. We've done the job, and we're telling you this is not the guy. But that owner overrides them. The owner that knows nothing about football overrides the people that he hired that knows a ton about football, that they are wrong. He is right. Pick this player. That's the difference. Josh Harris is not in there to tell him that they're wrong about who they're picking. He's asking questions about who they are picking to make sure that he understands and he's comprehending why this is going to be our franchise. It's nothing wrong with that. I need to understand why this is going to be my franchise quarterback. This is why I'm here. This is why I'm observing. This is why I'm asking these questions. And every owner in the league should be doing that. Every owner in the league should be asking questions about the franchise quarterback. But none of them should be saying, no, I'd rather go with this guy just because I think he's better. It doesn't work like that. And just knowing Josh Harris as an owner, and I often say, you know, the 2 and the 3 are different. You know, he's NFL owner is different from an NBA owner. NBA owner is different from an NHL owner. All of it's differences. Like the dynamics are so different between the 3 that you're going to, you know, you're going to he's going to own them different ways. He's going to approach them different ways. He's going to approach his ownership different ways to those 3 different sporting franchises. But what we know about him is that he has patience, and he allows the people that he hires to work and get the job done. And he trusts them to get the job done. He allows them to get the job done. And he gives them grace to get the job done. And then when they're not, when the results that they told them that they would get over a specific amount of time Weren't that not and he understood and comprehended what they wanted to do and what would be effective and what will, take whatever franchise to the next level. When they don't do that in that amount of time that they told him they will, that's when he acts. And that's when it's time to move on, because you told me that this franchise, that this team, that these picks you have is going to take us to the championship. It's going to win us a championship in this X amount of years. And when you don't do that, now it's time for me to act. But he's not telling them who to pick. Dogs, I say, as a corporate guy, I'm sure he knows what a good interview sounds like. I agree. Peters has final say, not Josh. Kind of, sort of. I mean, final say on rosters and all. Yes, like I totally agree. And that's because Josh is giving them final say. Like Josh could walk in and say, no, I don't want, like we've seen that he's the owner. He actually has the pen. Like he's writing the checks. He's signing the cards. But he's hired him to do this job, and that he's going to do it. And yes, I also wanted to hit the like button. If y'all can hit those hearts, get those algorithms moving for me, I definitely appreciate it. Snyder didn't even had an elevator. Oh man, like the video, Evan. Yes, appreciate it. Slim. Josh is doing the smart thing, saying how good front office and coaching staff collaborate during these processes without interfering. So that's what Josh is doing. Like, just give Josh time, give him space. He's doing it the right way. He's doing it right. He needs to understand his job, and he's showing you, he's telling you that he understands it, and that's what I think a good owner is. JP had posted this quote from Josh over September, what I was talking about earlier. I'm in the draft room in the NBA and would expect to be in the draft room in the NFL. He's there. He's watching. He's observing. He wants to know who did what. Right. So when something hit the fan, can't nobody say, well, he did this. He did this. Josh is right there watching and observing and looking. He wants to be excited too. You want to understand the process. You're not picking players. When we went to 53 players during final roster cuts, I asked to be briefed on some of the harder decisions, but I didn't want to be in the room because I don't want the process to be altered. See what I'm saying? There's a process, right? And he understands that. What else we got? I think that's about it. Yeah, I think that's about it for today. Just remember, somebody want to clown you, talk to us about these NFLPA grades. Tell them that we put $75 million towards that list. Get your money up. Get your bread up, man. So today, D-line and linebackers is working out. I believe it's starting at 3:00. If any of you all are on Twitter, follow, you're following Slim, you're within the community. We're going to have Slim is going to open a space up of combine watch space to watch these guys. There are a few linebackers on here that I definitely want to watch. Everyone wants to see Chop Robinson, of course. So it's going to be very interesting to see which one of these guys either their stock rises or their stock falls. So we're definitely looking forward to that. But again, like I say, man, we looking good, man. We looking good. And we got to get out of here. For those of you that came in late, run it back, share it, like it. AJ Perez of Front Office Sports, who's been covering the team. He helped us get through the Dan Snyder sale, and he's covering the Robert F. Kennedy Stadium bill yesterday. He broke down what it means, how do we get here, what's next. He broke it all the way down for us. If you don't understand what happened or what's happening, go ahead and run this back. It's the first 20 minutes of the show. And also follow AJ. Those of you that's aware of what happened in Louisiana, I think, with Brett Favre and like the TANF, when they were stealing money in food stamps and TANF and all those things. He's also covering that. So follow him on that if you're interested in that, because I know a lot of people were. But again, man, I appreciate you for your time. I know your time is very valuable for you to spend it with me. I definitely appreciate it. Remember, do it because you love it, not because it loves you. One beat, one sound, one heart, one love.